Not too long ago, I made a video talking about every single mushroom in the Mario series, and many people suggested I make a follow-up about flowers. And since I am a man of the people, I thought why not, let's tackle this baby. Only to find out this topic is way more tricky than mushrooms. Mushrooms are simple, there are no grey areas when it comes to them. Flowers though, that's a whole different beast. We all think of fire flowers immediately of course, but is a piranha plant a flower? Is a crazy daisy a flower? What about the Flora sapiens? The line is incredibly blurry and I had to draw it somewhere, so for my sanity's sake I decided to focus on flower power-ups and their relatives only for this video. But who knows, maybe one day I'll lose my mind enough to cover every sentient plant in the Mario series as well. Anyway, let's dive in, with the aforementioned fire flower, undoubtedly the most iconic flower in gaming history. This item has become so synonymous with Mario that he is often depicted with fiery powers outright, like the sports games or Super Smash Bros., despite him apparently needing this flower in order to activate it. Unlike its fellow icon, the Super Mushroom, the design of the fire flower has changed throughout the series' life. It initially had no face in the original Super Mario Bros., while Super Mario World goes for a design with orange leaves, similar to what would end up used in Paper Mario. Super Mario Bros. 3 has blue fire flowers, and Super Smash Bros. Had this weird incarnation. The final design we have come to know and love was made permanent in New Super Mario Bros. And has become the staple for every kind of flower power-up that followed. However, some beat that redesign to the punch, like the Super Ball flower from Super Mario Land, which, based on its availability, can be assumed to be a Sarasa Land native species. This power-up gives Mario the ability to fire Super Balls, which are fired at an angle and bounce off walls. It later reappeared in Super Mario Maker 2 after a whopping 30-year absence, accompanied by a banger of a tune. I have to say, I don't really understand why this flower hasn't made more appearances. I've always really liked its effect, even if I suppose it's essentially a less useful fire flower. Following the Super Ball flower, it would take all the way until New Super Mario Bros. 2 before a 2D platformer would introduce a new flower again. Befitting the theme of the game, this was the Gold Flower, which allowed Mario and Luigi to shoot golden fireballs and turn struck enemies into coins. It's not too dissimilar from the Happy Flower, which appeared in Super Paper Mario. Despite there also being a badge with the same name in the first two Paper Mario games, there is actually no relation here. Those heal FP after certain turns, these will cause coins attached to flowers to rain down from the sky. As you can see in its design here, this flower is one of only a few in the entire series to have a design that's not based on the fire flower. We continue with the newest flowers at the time of writing, those introduced in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Seeing as this game is set in the Flower Kingdom, it would be a crime against nature to not introduce new flowers here, and Nintendo seemed to agree, as a total of 4 entries hail from this game. The first is a new power-up, the Bubble Flower. This allows the characters to fire bubbles, which they can then use as makeshift platforms. Its design is a different colored fire flower, although it was originally supposed to be more vibrant, as leftover data in the game's files suggest. While I can definitely see this flower end up a bit forgotten in the future, that definitely doesn't apply to the Wonder Flower, which is like the most central mechanic of the game. Anytime you touch one of these, their Wonder effect will activate, altering the level in sometimes game-changing ways. The Wonder Flower was also retroactively added to the mobile game Super Mario Run, where they replaced Coin Rush stars in certain levels. Another flower from this game that has become infamous from the day of its announcement is the Talking Flower. I've seen a lot of hate for these, but I honestly didn't mind them at all. Not once did I think they were annoying, really. That said, some folks at Nintendo must have also considered people might dislike it, as they included the option to turn these flowers off. Mario Bros. Wonder also has propeller flowers, which I was kinda hesitant to include, but nah, we're on the topic anyway. These appear mostly in the overworld and fly players from world to world. We never get to control them ourselves, so not a whole lot more can be said about these beyond their design being distinctly different from the other flowers in the game. The 3D titles were a lot lighter on introducing new flowers. Super Mario Galaxy 2 was the debut game for the Cloud Flower, which allowed Mario to create clouds out of thin air. While it never properly reappeared, it at least made quite the impact in Galaxy 2. It appears in plenty of galaxies, is usable on Starship Mario, and is the only power-up to feature in the game's infamous final level, Grandmaster Galaxy. Things could definitely have been worse for the Cloud Flower. Super Mario 64 DS also introduced a new flower, one that didn't appear in the Nintendo 64 original. These are Power Flowers, not to be confused with the hippie slogan, and replace caps from the original title. They have a different effect on each of the playable characters. Mario becomes a balloon, Wario turns metal, Luigi vanishes, and Yoshi breathes fire. Super Mario 3D Land also brought a new flower along with it, being the Boomerang Flower. It does exactly what you would expect, allowing the user to throw boomerangs, and this simple yet fun concept meant it was allowed to make a ton of follow-up appearances. Boomerang flowers have since appeared in Super Mario Maker 2, Mario Kart 8 and later Mario Karts, as well as Mario Golf World Tour. And believe it or not, that's every flower originating from the core Super Mario games. Because while both New Super Mario Bros. Wii and Mario Galaxy did include the Ice Flower as a power-up, those actually debuted in Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, which is something I feel like most people aren't aware of. They're a simple ice variant of the Bro Flower, which is the name of the fire flower in this game, although later main series titles would change this up somewhat. In Mario Galaxy, this flower turns Mario in some sort of super ice form, where he can even skate along the water, while 2D titles make it so enemies struck by ice balls don't die, but become frozen, meaning they can be used as platforms or projectiles. Ice flowers would continue to be mainstays in the franchise, also appearing in Paper Mario games, Mario Kart and sports titles. Partners in Time was a good game for the flower community in general, introducing 2 more entries, although they wouldn't end up sticking around. One is the Capi Flower, a 2-headed specimen which causes a horde of copies of the brothers to show up and attack the enemy. While this one wouldn't ever reappear, the Double Cherry of Mario 3D World fame is not too dissimilar. This game also introduced us to the Mix Flower, which appears to combine the powers of ice and fire to create one large fireball. All 4 of the bros must then contribute to it growing and dealing the most damage to the enemy, which can run up to some seriously high numbers. Design-wise, this flower is a bit of an oddball. It kinda looks like a Shine Sprite to me, although I'm 99% sure that isn't intentional. We continue with Super Mario RPG, which actually featured a lot of flowers within its world design, used as platforms for example. To accompany this, there were also 2 flower-based power-ups, the first of which being the Bonus Flower. They're yellow and purple colored flowers that drop upon defeating an enemy, after which they cause 1 of 5 effects. All are positive and most are stat boosters, so this is definitely a flower in the helpful camp. In this game, as well as the later Paper Mario, players can use special abilities by spending flower points, or FP for short. As such, the item required to regain FP is a flower, simply called that, without an adjective. They have white leaves and a different effect depending on the game. In Super Mario RPG, they boost your maximum FP by 1, while in the Paper Mario games they instead restore spent FP. And I won't find myself a better segue into the Paper Mario series than this one, so those flowers are up next. While we already covered the Happy Flower from Super Paper Mario, this game has 2 more exclusive flowers waiting for us. The Slow and Speed flowers are each other's counterparts and have opposite effects. And what that is, well, take a wild guess. Speed flowers speed up your gameplay, while slow flowers make everything go in slow motion. They do however share that everything collected during this moment of time, so coins and points, are tripled, making them relatively useful when timed correctly. And while this is every unique flower out there, Paper Mario Origami King does feature some variations of familiar flowers. For example, shiny variants of the Ice and Fire flower can be purchased, which increase their power, but don't change their design or coloration, as you might think if you're also a Pokemon fan. You can also come across a faded fire flower while exploring Whispering Woods. Tossing it into a spring will return it to its normal fire flower state, making it useful in battle again. While I do like the name Faded Fire Flower, referencing both the wilting of flowers but also the draining of colors, I also want to give a shout out to the brilliant name in the Dutch version, where it's called the Extinguished Fire Flower. Really suits the theme. And that is every flower power-up in the Mario franchise. Definitely a lot less flowers than mushrooms out there, but there were still some forgotten examples waiting to be dug up regardless. Any idea what I should tackle next? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel to stay updated on all my future Mario content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.